Hello and welcome to another episode of Celiac Straight Talk, the podcast where we come together for a cure. I'm Claire Baker, Senior Communications Director at Beyond Celiac, a nonprofit dedicated to fostering greater understanding and awareness and accelerating research for treatments and a cure for celiac disease, a serious genetic autoimmune disease. Thanks for tuning into this episode, and don't forget to like and share our podcast.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Maria Lucci. I'm the Director of Research Communications Projects at Beyond Celiac. I have proudly worked here for over 6 years, and I'm excited today to be joined by this awesome group. We've got Phil, Emily, Erin, and Liz here to talk about how they've tackled and are thriving on the gluten-free diet. We all understand how difficult the diet can be, especially the transition and adjustment initially. But today's panelists are using their knowledge to help make it a little bit easier and help everyone feel less alone, whether they're newly diagnosed, not a typical gluten-free eater, love to travel, or dating, or headed off to college. But before we dive into our topics, I'd like to introduce each of our panelists. We have Phil, who is the creator behind the popular Phil Hates Gluten. This is a great website and social pages. In 2018, Phil was diagnosed with, and bear with me here, eosinophilic esophagitis. And thank you. Phil can fill us in better on the, I think a lot of people just call it EOE. So he has been eating gluten-free and dairy-free, which has helped alleviate the symptoms of this disease. He's made it his mission to create funny and relatable content about being gluten-free so that people feel a little bit less alone on their health journey. I especially, appreciate having a male's voice in this space, which can often be heavily female-oriented. Liz Purvis, right here on the end, is a celiac disease advocate and content creator at Yeet That Wheat on Instagram and TikTok. She's living with celiac disease, and her content focuses on health equity and her experiences as a Black woman living with celiac disease. Liz shares educational materials, reviews, recipes, and so much more through her social media channels. And she is also a member alongside me on the Beyond Celiac DAI Advisory Board. Erin Smith, right here, has been living with celiac disease since 1981, so she's pretty much grown up fully gluten-free, long before it was quote-unquote trendy. She has a unique perspective of growing up in the gluten-free community. In 2011, Erin founded Gluten-Free Globetrotter, a travel website that provides information about eating gluten-free, traveling with celiac around the globe. To date, Erin has been to 25 countries, 38 states, 3 continents, living and eating gluten-free 100% of the time. Erin is a strong celiac advocate and a friend of Beyond Celiac, who has been organizing celiac support groups for close to 20 years. She is the founding organizer of the New York City Celiac Meetup Group, and she's founded the Santa Cruz Celiacs while living in California. And last but not least, we have Emily Shaw, best known for her TikTok account, Emily Reina, which went viral with her series that followed her journey as she completely renovated her parents' home as a surprise over the course of 1 month. Her YouTube channel and TikTok are now destinations for decor and design content, budget-friendly home projects, and her ongoing series, DM DIY, where she helps solve her viewers' biggest design dilemmas. She's been featured in New York Times, Architectural Digest, Business of Home, The Drew Barrymore Show, and more. Something her fans may not know, though, is that she also happens to be doing all this living with celiac disease. So welcome, and thanks everyone again for being here. Erin, since you have been living with the gluten-free diet the longest, let's start with you. You have the unique experience of not remembering a time before being gluten-free. Some newly diagnosed people believe they won't be able to travel, but obviously you've shown that it is possible. Do you think being diagnosed at such a young age helped you feel more comfortable navigating the diet in new locations?
So I was diagnosed when I was 2, back in 1981, and I don't know life with gluten. I do know teenage and college years of being very sick and making a lot of mistakes because we didn't have words like cross contact back then. So it was a lot of learn by doing. But, you know, being comfortable, I don't know any other way of life, and I really give my parents a lot of credit, and I know Dr. Ehrlich and Dr. Verma were talking before about like living your life and not being hypervigilant. We just did what we knew. There was no internet. I didn't have a community. I didn't meet anyone until I was a teenager. So I didn't know who to talk to about this except my family. And my family just kind of always treated me quote unquote normal, which I hate to say, but it's really, they just treated me how they were raising their firstborn child. So I traveled from a young age. My grandmother lived in Canada. We actually joined the Canadian Celiac Association first, and Alice knows there wasn't really much information except for that. So I got paper newsletters in the mail, and I like really looked forward to it as a kid, like, hey, I got my newsletter. So, you know, it's an interesting question because I don't know any other way of living, but I like to talk to parents with newly diagnosed children because your kids are going to be okay, and it's a learning curve, but I would like to encourage you not to treat your child as other and to really give them normal childhood experiences like I had, because I really, and I see this now, I have a 4-year-old and he has a peanut allergy and we still travel the world, and it's very nerve-wracking as a parent, but I don't want him to ever feel like he can't because of his peanut allergy, and I never wanted to feel like I can't because of my celiac and also shellfish allergy and kiwi, you know, I have a list too, so, so I think it's really, we just didn't know any different then, so it's hard to compare.
Yeah. So before we move on, I would love to hear what are some of your favorite, like, that you think are the best locations or maybe easier for someone who is newly diagnosed to travel to.
Sure. This is like picking your favorite child, by the way. Like, I have my favorite quote is, you can't have a favorite place until you've seen them all. And like, that is my goal in life, is to see them all. But I'm biased, but it's also a great place. I'm from New York. I live in Brooklyn. You know, we have more than 35 dedicated gluten-free restaurants and bakeries in New York City and Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn. So New York is really great. I also really enjoy Philly. Now, I will preface this by saying I do a ton of research, and if you were in Jen's talk earlier, like, that is how you have to travel. You have to do this research. But in the United States, New York City, Philadelphia, and Portland, Oregon are my top 3. And then out of the US, Italy, and we know